Dunning-Kruger effect has been around since 1999, since their original research. I won't go into the background and too much detail of it. Essentially, what it suggests, very simply, very convincingly, is that early in careers, we tend to exaggerate our competence. Early in careers, we're over-eager to project competence. And that's understandable. And organizations like to see typically people who are on top of things early and have got a command of the important things of their role. The trouble is, very often that's an over projection, and the substance behind the claims of competence are not as strong as they could be. This is not being critical of people. This is realistic. This is about saying these are people new to a role. These are people keen to please themselves, please their employers, impress. And managing that process is not easy. Managing that process for me is real talent management, not just sending people on training courses, but saying, how are we going to grapple with this difficult issue of managing the enthusiasm, the energy, commitment of people whose actual competence, perfectly reasonably, may not be all they think it is. Now, that's a heck of a thing to do, and I don't see it happening. In 42 years in the workplace, I have not seen that happening. I think it should be. I think organizations should be saying to themselves, have we got people who are not quite as good as they think they are? We don't want to burst their bubble. We've got to manage their expectations of themselves. Do we have such people on the staff? If not, can we bring them in? We want to keep these people. We don't want them in the next stage of this to slide down that level of competence and expectation where they realize they really aren't as good as they thought they were. They find themselves in the company of people who are better than themselves. As they spend more time in the workplace, the more people, it's likely that they'll spend time with people who are impressive, who surpass their own competencies just because they've been there longer and done it for a longer time and have learned more in that time. So, issues here to be grappled with. The issue that is rarely or not as often thought about in terms of the Dunning-Kruger model is the later one, where people later in their careers with expertise start to seriously question their own level of competence. They go through a self-doubt process. They start to reflect, not altogether helpfully, on whether they've fulfilled the expectations they have of themselves. They look around and say, hey, other people have done better than me. And that's a shame, because these are very often people with a lot to give, a lot more to give. And that needs to be nurtured. That fragile, vulnerable feeling of, was I really any good? Is something that, again, as a talent management issue, I think is a void. I think it's a void, and it's avoided. It's either not realized or it's run away from. Because these people late in career have got a lot more to give if an organization goes about doing that the right way. Anyway, just raising some issues. I've got a networking event that I'm doing for free, details off my website, next month, and I'm going to enjoy exploring these sorts of issues with fellow practitioners. I hope that was helpful.